Good evening. Good evening. I hope I am all the right places. You guys, welcome to. Excuse me, I thought I was gonna sneeze. Quick craft with Royce. Although today's probably gonna be less quick than other mornings. Oh, you know what? Let me get my mic on. And make sure that you can hear me. And you know what? I should double check. I don't know. Give me 1 second, you guys, to see if my mic is using the correct mic. And it is not. Mic check, mic check. I think that's gonna be better. Because you guys can actually hear me through my microphone. But if you guys will do me a favor, just say good morning and let me know where you're watching from. Hi, Rachel. Um, for my quick crafts, you guys, I have been in the past kind of, oh my gosh, that heat is gonna kill me. I'll be right back. I'm gonna turn my heater off. Just turn it down. Okay. Oh wow, it's using my other camera. I just never know with this thing. Even though I told it not to use that camera, it's using it. However, good morning, Eclectic Emporium. How are you guys doing this morning? Hey, Flea. Hey, Connie. So you guys, I know I usually come on and I apologize for being long, but we're going to be long today. I'm just, I have been going at about 200% for about 2.5, 3 weeks, and I hit a wall today. So I'm not as prepared as I have been for my past videos. And honestly, I figure with all the extreme weather around the country, that maybe our session today could be a nice distraction, right? I'm cutting you guys know that I love this mat. I use it for so many things. And we are going to use this one today for a palette because I'm going to be mixing some colors. We're going to be mixing some colors together. And that way my mat doesn't have to get dirty. But I do want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing. So, Lord, we'll do right there. Nope, you can't see that either, can you? We'll put it over here. Okay. So you guys can see when we start mixing colors, you guys can see what I'm going to do. So, quick, if you're new to Roycycled, my name is Royce Bell. I'm the founder, owner, and operator of Roycycled Treasures. Roycycled Treasures, we really are committed to empowering creation, and we do that through quality craft supplies, through instructions, through encouragement and inspiration. And so, if you're new here, welcome, and I hope you'll come and hang out with us often. And whether you're creating for your heart, for your home, or even for your business, you are absolutely welcomed here. We have been meeting every day in the month of January to kind of kickstart our creativity for 2026. And so, this last kind of segment, I guess, that we've been doing are art blocks. And so on our first day, we created this art block. You guys, I wish I could show you guys this crackle on camera. I just love it so much. This one came out. I do post pictures on in the committee community part of my Roycycle channel on YouTube, and I also post a picture on my page and Facebook. So you guys be sure and take a look. So this was the first one we created together, and we used the Romantic Blocks decoupage paper for both the background and the little script in here. And we used some molds. And of course, my new obsession is the 2-part crackle. It is so yummy. So that was the one we did first. Yesterday, we did a more simple block. I do feel like when I'm making like a series of art blocks, I like for there to be some diversity from block to block. And if they're all super busy, then none of them are super special, right? So this one was much more simple. We used the Topography Love decoupage paper here. We use the stamp for the 14. And of course, we put a grungy halo underneath the paper and some crackle texture over the top of this one as well. And this paper is really white and this paper is warm. So our underpainting for this project, we did a warm white so that these blocks, they don't need to be exactly the same, but if this one would have been bright white, it would have looked really strange next to this one. So these are the two we've made so far. And of course, February 14th is Valentine's Day and we have a heart here. So I want them to be Valentine's Day inspired, but I don't want them to be so much Valentine that you have to take them down on the 15th, right? So we're making them so that they're Valentine-esque, right? So in our past lives, I've had my panel all prepped. By the time we've come on, we're actually going to prep this one together because, yeah, I went to bed at midnight, which for me is early. It's early for me. And I woke up at 9 o'clock this morning. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe I slept in that night. I don't even remember David leaving for work this morning. So I have prepped, oh, white is so hard. I've prepped some molds and I have an X and an O here that I created with my molds. And really this is supposed to be like a corner piece and this is long, but I just did them like this. And you guys, I did these this morning and I have a countertop food dehydrator that I bought to make dehydrated lemons, but that's a whole nother conversation. No lemons have made it in that dehydrator, but there's been a lot of clay that's made it in there. Let's just say that. So I have these, my X and an O, and then I made this piece straight, which is what it actually looks like. It's kind of like a branch. You'll be able to see it better when I paint it. But I think this is going to compete. These are all the same weight. And I think if I have this as a border and I have these, that this is going to compete with those. And so I kind of switched gears and I made a really thin mold to go on the bottom of my, of my thing. And I also made kind of one that's a little bit bigger. So we're going to test these out together and see which we prefer. But when you're designing, 2 years ago, I started my membership and I thought that my membership was going to be teaching like basic art principles and how you can apply it to your creativity, whatever that is. But my people were not interested in that. I'm so sad. So I just sneak them in wherever I can. So today we'll be talking a lot about composition. Which it is, I mean, it's a design principle, it's an art principle, right? It's something that you can use in whatever kind of creativity that you're doing. And I'm going to wipe this clean really quickly so that I can get that off. Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys like those. The art blocks are a fun way to experiment, right? If you are thinking about putting elements together and you're not sure how they'll look, maybe you're thinking about doing it on a larger project. An art block is a fun way to experiment and just test things out. And if it doesn't work out, it's not a big deal. Now, I have these 4x6 wood blanks that I'm using. I got these from Amazon. But like if you have scrap wood, you know, and you can cut them down, you can use those. It doesn't have to be these wood planks. Even if you use the canvases from Dollar Tree, that works too, right? Because it's all about the creative process. Once you hang it on the wall, nobody's going to know it anyways. Good morning, Olga. Oh my gosh, I know a -4 in Chicago. You guys, those of you who are dealing with like deep freeze, my prayer, I woke up thinking about you guys this morning. My prayer is that you guys stay safe. And I'm praying for everybody, but particularly for the southern states who are just not equipped to deal with this kind of cold. So you guys, please stay safe and drive safely because I know when it snows around here, nobody knows how to drive and it is absolute mayhem. So the paper that I'm going to be using today this is the Royce cycled vintage wallpaper decoupage paper. This one's a smaller scale. I also have a larger one. Wait, I think the larger one is vintage wallpaper. This one is just wallpaper. So I have this one and my roses are a smaller scale, but I also have another one where the roses are a lot larger. We're going to be using this one because this scale makes sense for a smaller project. And we are absolutely going back to my paper. You guys are probably tired of seeing this paper by now, but it's so versatile. I really do use it a lot. And I've already decided on a piece that I'm going to use, and it says Grammar of Botany. And I'm using it primarily because of the weight of the topography. This is like a really bold and it's kind of bigger. So I think it's going to be perfect on my block. One of the reasons, and we've talked about this, that I love this paper so much, and honestly, it was my intention when I created it, is that you have these pieces that are like bold. Um, and even on this one, even you have this bold one, but there was another one, and you can see that this one is scaled even larger than that one. So you have the bold pieces at different scales. You also have the script pieces that are scaled differently. This one is more bold. It's like, even though it's not that much larger, it's heavier. You have music sheet. Um, you have I always forget. Whenever I see this, I think journal first, and then I forget the real name of it. You have some lighter script, but you just have a lot of different things on this sheet. And so this is one of those pieces that are really um, something that you can keep, and you're going to use it over and over and over again, I promise. And even if you're working on larger projects, this is a repeat, which means that if this piece is not large enough, you can piece it together with other pieces to make it cover a larger piece. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And I was dry fitting this yesterday on the other piece, and I got some paint on it, but it's okay. It's just going to add some more interest to this piece. I'm going to go ahead and cut off this block. Oh, I hate to do those numbers off of my eye chart, but it's okay because I'm not going to use the whole thing anyways. I'm only going to use a piece of this, but I'm going to go ahead and cut off the whole block and put the rest of this paper away so that we're not fighting with all of it for our entire block. And today I'm going to be using a water-based varnish to both adhere and seal my paper, mainly because it's right here and it's ready, so no specific reason. If you have like Mod Podge or PVA glue, you can add a little water and you can use that to decoupage. Um, and if you are new, recycled decoupage papers, let me move my breakfast, you guys. I don't want to get peanut butter on my paper. Recycled decoupage papers are 21 inches by 29 inches. So it's a large sheet of paper and it's an 18-pound tissue paper. So it's heavier than the gift wrapping tissue paper that you use with your gift bags, but it's still very much tissue paper. So it's really forgiving, and it's definitely more forgiving than, say, napkins. And the larger sheets enable you to be able to decoupage larger items. So, like furniture pieces or large home decor pieces. And generally, even though this is a large piece of paper, it's made up of a lot of small vignettes. And so you can look at this and see that you could absolutely make like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can make 8 small projects, right, with this one piece of paper. So there really is a lot of value with the recycled decoupage paper. So we're going to be using this paper today, and we're only going to be using a part of the paper. I'm going to go ahead and just cut out this entire vignette here. It's already cut off on the bottom a little bit. Um, and then we'll figure out and we'll talk about why we're choosing to use the piece that we're going to use. I'm going to try to get as much of that flower as possible on there. And I'm just running my fingers right along that edge, and that's going to help me know exactly where I need to cut with my scissors once I take it off. And I always like to cut just past the line, just in case the paper shifted while I was measuring or something weird happened, that I leave myself a little room for error, if you will. I posted today about a piece that I did like 9 years ago, you guys, where I made the biggest mistake ever. And that mistake ended up being gold because in my effort to correct my mistake, I actually like accidentally created a paint finish. That was like my most popular paint finish for about 2 years after that. And so even if you make a mistake, I think if we just like don't panic and we look at the opportunities that are in front of us, we can make lemons out of lemonade. I mean, we can make lemonade out of lemons, right? A ledger. Thank you, girl. I mean, thank you, not girl. I'm sorry. I'm so used to having women. I'm sorry, guys. Um, thank you. So for this piece, my what I want to do is have roses on the top, and then we're gonna have some script on the bottom, and I'm gonna use one of these trim pieces to cover up that the 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 edge right between the two pieces of paper. And then I thought we'd put the X and the O on the top, since we're talking about Valentine's Day, right? So hugs and kisses, I think would be perfect. So this is the plan for today. And so we're going to build this out together. So I'm going to put these pieces, and I love using the dehydrator because these pieces are dry, but the inside isn't dry yet. So they're still kind of flexible. So I still have a little flexibility, which I'm going to need with these because they're not exactly straight. But I don't know. I may just use this little bitty one because I don't know if I want this to be a feature necessarily. It's just literally so I can cover up the seam between these two papers. So how am I going to choose where I'm going to lay out what? So I'm going to use the rule of thirds, and I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to eyeball it. But if I cut this into 3 pieces, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to make the bottom third of this the topography. And then the rest of it's going to be the flowers. And so that's the plan. So because I know that I want my pieces to like go together, right? This piece is warm, this piece is warm. And so if I have the bottom of this a bright white, and especially against this warm background, it's going to look weird. So I want to paint the top of this bright white because I don't want to add any more. I don't want to add any more warmth to this paper. And the bottom, I'm going to paint a warm white so that this will look like it'll be more cohesive, not only on this piece, but with our collection together. And so one of the reasons that I like having a white background paper is because you really do have options, right? You can always make this warmer if you want it to be warmer. And you can even tea stain these ahead of time if you want it. And I'm going to eyeball my third. I'm not going to like measure. So if you're a measure person, I want you to look away. Just look away. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm going to go ahead and paint the top of my block, and then we'll take the remaining paint that's here on my little um, palette, and we will add a little ochre yellow. I have some transparent ochre yellow, and I'm just going to use this to warm up my white paint a little bit. Hey, Justin from Michigan, how are you? Good morning, Allison. Or is it good afternoon for you? And so I'm thinking like a third is like right there. So I'm going to do the top 2/3 of this a bright white. Oh man, I'm going to show you guys something really quickly. One of the things that I do sometimes when I want to have texture on a painting is I will take my brush and I'll just take my fussy cutting scissors and I go in and I just cut. And I accidentally grab that brush. So this will not do. So we're going to put that in my jar. I was like, why is my paint laying down weird? It's because I grabbed my textured brush. And you can buy brushes like that, but like, why? I can just make my own. But you see how my straight brush leaves a straight edge and my texture brush left like a textured edge. So that's why I like to have one of those brushes because it depends on what I'm doing, you know, what I want my brush to do. And I'm thinking a third is like right there. I probably should have measured because then it could be straight across and not crookedy. Hmm. I have to look at something, and I don't necessarily need like, a ruler. I just need something that's going to give me a standard measurement. So I'm going to use this since I've already painted this here, and I'll mark that on my stick. And then I could mark on this side. And I don't want to put a black mark on there, so I'm just going to go like this. And then I'll go in the middle, and that should be like about right. You guys should see me doing carpentry. No, I use a measuring tape. I do. So we're going to paint this white, and we have a little bit of a margin of error because we're going to have that trim piece to cover up the seam on that. And because my paper is light, I do want my coverage, you know, my white to be pretty consistent. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you have like really big blotchy marks, they might show through your paper, especially with the lighter designs. And I think as more and more of us use the misting method to decoupage, it's going to become more and more important to pay attention to your background because it does make your paper more transparent when you wet it first. So that's our top. And now we're going to do the bottom, and we're going to use a warm white on the bottom. When you guys are mixing colors, whenever you're mixing a darker color into a lighter color, just know that the darker color is going to impact your light color more, is more likely going to impact it more than you think. So rather than putting my yellow ochre like right in, can you guys see what I'm doing? Oh, you can. Rather than putting my yellow ochre right on my paint, I'm going to put it over here to the side. That way I can just pull in a little bit at a time, right? Because I can always add more, but if I make it too dark, then I'm stuck. And I don't want to be stuck, y'all. So I can just keep adding more until I get the color that I want. And I have this paper here, so I'm kind of looking at this as I'm mixing. And I'm not trying to match the exact color, but I am trying to match the value. So basically about how dark this background is what I'm trying to match. And I'm going to go a little bit darker still because this white paper is going to go on top of that. And that's going to push back the darkness a little bit. So I'm going to match the darkness of the paper, and then I'm going to keep adding until I make it a little bit darker than even that. I hope that makes sense. That sounded rambly in my head. But if we're being honest, everything sounds rambly in my head. So I'm going to add, it's interesting, this ochre yellow has a little bit of red in it. And so my mixture is feeling a little pink. So I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow. This yellow is not transparent, so I don't want to add too much, but just a little bit to kind of bring that back, shift it away from being pink, because that is not the look we're going for. Okay. I think that's good. And my blocks don't need to match, but like tonally, I would like for them to feel cohesive. Hi, Karen. How are you? Hey, KG from watching from San Diego. Good morning. Are you guys cold today? I wasn't sure how far that cold snap is reaching. I know my friends in Texas are cold. I feel like I can come up a little, but I guess by the time we put the trim on, it'll be a third. I'm coming up just a little bit higher. You know, it's interesting because we all have our gifts, right? Things that we're naturally sensitive to. And for me, proportion is one of those things that I just respond to, or I don't know, which is good and bad. Because sometimes in the world, things aren't proportionate and it bothers me unnecessarily. Okay, I think that's good. So we have our warm white on the bottom because we're going to be using a bright white paper, right? And then we have the bright white on the top because we're going to be using the warm paper. And so hopefully doing this will help make it feel more cohesive. And do I want to wash this yet? Yes. You guys should see me. I'm so pitiful. I have so many brushes in this jar over here. It is just ludicrous. Ludicrous. Um, And the next thing we want to do is we've been painting the edge of our blocks gold. And so I like to paint my edges red as an underpainting if I'm going to be using gold. So I'm going to mix my red. This red that I have is like really kind of orangey and really bright, and that's not what I want. So I'm going to add a tiny bit of blue. And you guys will notice I'm putting my blue to the side, right? I'm not putting it right on top of that paint. I have one small brush left, and I gotta save that one for my crack-a-lackin', so I don't wanna use that one. Oh, this one has such short bristles. We'll be painting all day. It's okay. So I'm gonna take a little bit of blue, that's even too much, and I'm gonna mix it in my red. And again, I would rather mix a little bit at a time, and have to add more blue than to add too much blue, and then you gotta put more red, and then you have too much paint. Although I don't think I have enough paint. Oh, it's like 70. Okay, that's nice. 30 below. Oh my goodness, Sandy. And in Pittsburgh too. Vicky, I'm so sorry. You guys stay safe. I'm assuming you guys like packed it in like groceries and stuff so you wouldn't have to go outside. It's a little chilly here today. It's like rainy and cloudy outside. That's probably why I slept so late. So then I have like this really nice kind of a blue red, which is perfect for going under my gold paint. So this is basically an underpainting. So everything we've done so far, we're just like underpainting. This is normally the stuff that I do off camera before we come on camera together. But I figured it would be okay if I went a little long today because I know a lot of you are hunkered down because of the cold. And so we can just kind of hang out and craft for a bit this morning. Whenever I'm painting an edge, you guys will notice I always flatten my brush out. Um, that way I'm less likely to pull red paint over the top, although I did right there. Um, if a little red comes over, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But I do not want to clean up a whole bunch of red. Carolyn says she's crafting all weekend. And I know some of you guys are used to the cold, right? Like you guys, it happens every winter and you guys know what to do. But like the southern states, they're not used to that weather. I know that when we get a few years ago, every like, I don't know, 7 to 10 years, we get snow in southern Arizona. And it's mayhem because we don't, our infrastructure is not set up for that. We're desert rats over here. We're not used to snow. And so the last time it snowed, um, I literally saw 5 accidents just on the way to my destination. And it's because people are sliding all over the place. And our poor guys who work for the city, they're like out with backhoes trying to clear the streets because we don't have snow plows here. So I think it depends. If you live where you're used to winter, you're probably better prepared. But for those of us who live where we're not used to it, it can be really a lot. And this is why I do this ahead of time. It's because it's kind of boring. But I wanted us to kind of talk about it today. So sometimes how your project turns out has more to do with what you do to get prepared than it does with what you do on top, right? Or at the very least, it's just as important. It's kind of like when you're painting your house. We all hate it, right? You got to take all the light switches off and the outlet covers off, and you got to tape up everything. I don't know about y'all, but like, ugh, that is the worst part of painting. Once I'm ready to start painting, I'm good. But all that prep work, and same thing with prepping furniture. Ugh. Although I did learn that once I had an assistant and he would do prep for my furniture for me, it was harder for me to work on my furniture because that time that you spend with the piece, sanding and cleaning and vacuuming out all the dust and all the things, you get to know the piece and you kind of have a conversation with it about what it wants to be. And when you start with a piece that's already prepped, it's kind of like working on a stranger. It's really interesting. Hey, Annette, how are you this morning? Vicky said she's packing whatnot orders this morning. I'm trying to stay off of whatnot right now. Just right now, not forever. I'll be back. I found a cool ledger on whatnot. I'm like, if you guys see ledgers on whatnot, like at mention me, okay? Because I'm looking for them. I'm not panicking, but I'm like, I use ledgers a lot in my artwork. And when I say I'm getting low, like I still have plenty, but I'm getting low. I mean, because it's not like you can go to Walmart and buy a ledger. I'm going to do a little bit of touch up and take care of that white on the edge. You guys, I don't have any brushes clean. I am so pitiful. And I'm trying to save the brushes that I do have. Here, I'll just take something from here. Do I have any bright white left? And I don't know why I did that because I'm going to grunge up these edges anyways. So let's try this. And then we're going to put a halo, a grunge halo under here because the other two I did that. So whenever I'm making like a series, I kind of decide ahead of time what things I'm going to repeat over and over again in each piece. So my goal is not to have these look exactly the same, obviously, but I do want there to be some elements from one block to the next. And so all of them are going to have gold edges, right? They're all going to have the fine line crackle on them. And another thing that they're all going to have is a grunge halo around. Where is my dabber? Oh, it has to be right here because I never move it. There actually is like people come into my shop and they probably think it's complete mayhem, but there is a method to my madness. So I still have enough ink left on this. And then I'm going to go in, and this brush is just dry, but I'm just going in and kind of feathering that ink out so that it looks more organic. You rather work on a stranger and avoid prep. I don't know. I have a piece over here that's been prepped for like literally 2 years, but we're going to do it together at some point. I need to get back to doing furniture. That's how I started, you guys. I started out painting furniture. And then when I was taking care of my mom, it was just harder. I gave her my craft room when she moved in with us. So we made my craft room her bedroom. And so I just had less space to work in. And my family was ready to put me out because I'd have big pieces of furniture in the living room. So I started doing smaller crafts. which ironically, when I first started, I used to hate doing smalls. Ugh, like I would rather work on a huge piece of furniture than do a small craft. And now I love it. It's interesting how our creativity changes over time. And you guys know what? I meant to bring one of the things I decided was about 3 years ago, I started taking like really specific art classes. So like I would want to learn about, you know, color theory. So I would take that class. And then I would take a class learning about like all these different things. And my goal was to learn about them and then apply them to my creating, which is why I started my Recycled Besties membership with that thought. That's not what y'all wanted, so that's not what we're doing. But um, about a little less than a year ago, I guess, I decided that if I was going to learn how to do classic art, that I just needed to just dive in and just do it and stop being chicken shit. So that's what I did. So in April, March or April of last year, I signed up for a program. And so I've been working on that. And I like to say classical art versus fine art because fine art sounds like really judgy to me. Art is art. We love all of it. But I did want to learn how to be able to draw whatever I wanted to draw. And I wanted to learn how to paint um, using classic techniques. And so I've taken this course and I have launched some prints for a group of paintings that I'm working. They're called Universal Beauties. So I have prints available for the first two of my beauties. And I meant to bring them so I could show you guys. I might pop in the house. I should call my husband and ask him to bring them. He's home for lunch. Where is my phone? I'm gonna do that before he cuts out because he'll be leaving in a few minutes. I would text him, but hi, babe. I am. Can you do me a huge favor? Can you bring my prints that I picked up at CMI yesterday? I think so. Yes. Okay. They're in like a little bag, and then there's like a piece of brown paper that's wrapped around the big ones because they didn't have bags big enough for those. Okay. Thank you, babe. Uh-huh. Bye. My poor husband, he can't even get rest on his lunch break without me bugging him. I get it, Vicky. And honestly, I'm not interested in doing like so Vicky's saying that she's not interested in doing like detail art. And I'll be honest with you, my favorite art is the kind that's created using like the least like I want to do art, but I do not want to do like photo real art or realism. Like I'm not interested in doing realism at all. And I'm going to learn how to do it just because I want to make creative choices based on thank you, baby. That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Sure. I want to be able to make creative choices based on like what I want and not based on, what I can and can't do. But that's the only reason I'm interested. I'm like, I do not want to do realism at all. I really want to do really expressive art pieces. I'm trying to figure out where I want to cut my roses off because it would make sense to just use this line, but then that's fine, right? Because it's basically just going to be a texture behind my X and my O. So I'll just trim off this top part. So anyways, I don't want to do realism either. Like I want to do crazy art. Thank you, Chris. You're always so sweet. I appreciate you. Chris is my hype woman. She's always like, yes, Royce, yes, you can do that. So I've misted my paper. And you guys notice that when I mist, I don't like rush, right? Like I missed and I'm going to stretch that paper out a little bit, but I'm going to give it time to like chill out. If I decoupage right away, then I'm kind of not taking advantage of why I'm misting it in the first place. So what time is it? 12:44. And we still have a lot to get done. We spent all that time on prep. And that starter row, especially with this one, because I'm being super specific about, where I want my paper to start, right? So that starter row is going to really help me to make sure that my paper is exactly where I want it. And you notice how I was able to lift up that paper and reposition it. If this were napkins, I don't think I'd be able to do that. And I always like to decoupage from one side to the next so that I can push out any air bubbles as I go, or any air as I go, so I don't end up with air bubbles. Okay. So that's the top part. Don't you guys just love the way the halo really highlights the flowers in the middle? And then we're going to put on this bottom piece. And I got to figure out, I'm thinking like, you see how there's script that's going down the side? Like, I really like that. And I think I want that included. But like a lot of this up here, I don't need that. I think I'm going to start right here. So that way I can have a lot of that kind of heavier um, topography be on there versus having a big empty space. I probably should have folded that instead of cutting it because I don't know if it's straight. I'm pretty sure it's not straight. Oh, Lord. Okay. And I got paint on the back of this yesterday because I was dry fitting it and my paint was wet because I was in a hurry. You guys ever notice how when you're trying to do something in a hurry, you end up wasting time? Like it's just not worth it to be in a hurry. So that's what's going to be on the bottom. I think that's going to be perfect. I'm going to trim it just past that. And this little circle thing right here, I kind of like it. So I'm going to cut it out and I may end up decoupaging it right over the top. And the thing about using decoupage tissue paper is it's so thin that I can decoupage this right over the top and you won't even notice. It'll just look like it's always been there. So we'll put that there. And then yesterday, we cut off this little lady off of another section of the paper. And so maybe I'll just use that. I don't know. We'll put that there. So I'm going to go ahead and decoupage this piece. And that paint from yesterday is going to show, but it'll be fine. It's just going to add more interest to my piece. When you are using the misting method, you do want to be generous with your adhesive, whatever you're using. You don't want to have puddles, but you do want it to be generous because your paper is already full of water, so it's not going to absorb the adhesive as readily. Is that corner going to be covered? It is. And I don't know, this piece is like cut off on two sides. So it only has like a few spaces where it could go. I could put it there and it'd be upside down. I think I'm going to just use my lady. And so our decoupage is done. Isn't this going to be so pretty? I'm like loving the way that that halo is kind of bringing the two sides together, right? Because it goes around like that. Let's dry this and trim it, and then we will go on and set this aside. I think we'll dry and trim this. We'll paint the edge gold, and then we'll set it aside and let the gold dry while we paint our molds. That's what we can do. Oh, Vicky, I want to see. Okay, so that's pretty much dry, and we're gonna trim this really quickly. And more often than not, you guys will see me use a sanding block or one of those finger sanders to sand my decoupage paper. I like using anywhere between like 180 to 220 grit sanding paper because it's gonna work pretty quickly, right? If I go down to like 80 though, where the pieces on my sander are really big, then I risk scoring my edges, which I don't want to do that. And if you get up into the 300s, I mean, you can use it, but you'll be sanding forever, forever, right? It takes forever to trim. So like 180 to 220 is nice because it's fast, but you get a nice clean edge without any scoring. And you guys see how I'm going down, but I'm going across. So that enables me to get a lot of surface area done, but still having a downward motion so that I can trim quicker without risking lifting up my paper and or tearing it. And you can go across if you want. There's no guarantee that you're going to tear your paper, but you're just more likely to lift it up and tear, especially when you have areas like this one. You see where that corner isn't tacked down. If I had come up or across, I could have risked like tearing that off. That's why I like to just go down because there are often like little spots where your paper isn't tacked down well. So I'll go around the edge and just make sure and look, it's not straight, but it's okay. It's okay. It's all good. We're going to pretend like it's perfectly straight. And so for our gold, we are going to mix our own gold paint using a pigment. Um, I know that you guys like to hear brands. I'm trying not to mention brands because I want my retailers to be able to share these videos without having to worry about me mentioning maybe a brand that they don't carry or a competing brand. But if you guys ask in the comments, I'll answer you and let you know. So I'm just going to take this pigment and put it right here on my mat. And I'm just going to mix it with the same product I'm using to decoupage with. I'm going to mix that and I'm going to be able to make my own gold paint. And you want to work with really, like, if you want it to really be gold paint, you do want your pigment to be ground really, really fine. If it's like if you have big flakes of pigment, you're gonna get more of a glittery effect, you know what I mean, than a paint. So look for a really refined pigment that's ground up really nicely or really small if you're wanting to get this effect. And the beautiful thing is I can make this as transparent or opaque as I want. The more opaque I want, the more pigment I use. And if I want it to be more transparent, I could just use more of my top coat. And the cool thing is you can just use the top coat that you already have in your stash. And you could use gold leaf too. If I were using gold leaf, I would still paint this red. The red just makes the gold look richer. And it's easier to cover than trying to paint over white. I think that's the case with almost anything though, right? And this dries really quickly, which is nice. But you want to hurry up and use. You don't want to try to mix like a ton of this at one time. I just usually mix what I need. Um, it dries really quickly. It's already gotten thicker. I can tell by the way it's laying down on this side. So now I have a nice bougie gold edge on there. So I'm going to set this aside. And this is where we are so far. And we're going to take some time to paint our trim. And then we'll come back and adhere it to this. Now, where can I put this down safely? You guys should see my shop right now. It's a mess. Going live every day means a lot of projects. And we're doing a project start to finish every day that we're here live together. So it's a lot. So I'm going to walk you guys through the mold that I have and kind of my decision-making process. So my heat gun, you guys, I love this so much. It's actually an embossing tool. You can find it in my Amazon store. It's by Ranger. It's called a heated craft tool and it's super quiet. That's why I love it. And you can see I use it a lot because it's been through some things. um, yes, it's the Ranger heat tool. Thank you, Flea. So, and thank you guys for helping me monitor my comments too, because I'm trying to stay focused. So I do look up, but I'm not monitoring them as closely as we do on our Sunday night lives. So this is a trim that I created for the piece. And I kind of want to, my first thought was that I would use this for the trim on the bottom. And then I would do the X and the O on the top like that. But I feel like this is fighting with this because the weight is the same. And so I decided to go with something thinner. And I almost wanted to like not disappear, but like not compete at all. So like this is a really small piece of trim. That would be zero competition. And then this one is still smaller, but I do feel like this scale is still larger. So I'm gonna go with this really small one. I think I'm going to paint both of these. We'll make a final decision. And I'm going to paint these gold because if we look at our other two blocks, um, this one we have rusty patina in gold. And this one we have the gold on the edge. We don't have any rusty patina. So I do want to bring in kind of this rust finish. So I figured I would paint the X and the O with the rust. And this one has the rust and the gold. So I want to paint this with gold. Or I could do like I did here and do the rust finished and then dry brush the gold, but there's really not enough detail on there. I think I'll just paint it gold. We'll just paint it gold. It'll be fine. This one can be in the middle. And then that way, this one's definitely not competing with this one. This one will have more detail on it, but it still won't like compete with the main character, which is our winged one. And you guys, we're doing 3, but you guys could do like a bunch of these. And do I want to paint this red? I'm going to go ahead and paint this just so I don't waste my paint. I probably should have done red, but I know that I'm not going to need a lot of paint. And if I take the time to mix the red, I'm not going to, this will be dry because it dries super fast. Oh, faded finch. You thought I had some magic going on over here? No, it's that that gun. I saw somebody use it a few years ago, and I had to have it. I got to have it. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. So that's the only gold that I'm gonna have on the top. And should I paint this one just in case? I do feel like that's gonna be too heavy. We'll paint it and then we'll see. We'll do a dry fit and we'll choose which one we're gonna use. And again, I just made these pieces this morning and I put them in my countertop food dehydrator that I do not use for food, by the way. I bought it to use for lemon slices because I don't know if you guys pay attention to my tea, but I use dehydrated lemon slices and candied ginger in my tea. And I was like, I can make my own lemon slices. That dehydrator has not seen one lemon, y'all, but it's seen a lot of clay. And I did get that idea from Lynn from L&J Goods. So we have these pieces. I painted those gold. And then we're going to do a fun finish on these. And I'll just save my other little piece for something in the future. I don't know. I should probably paint on my plate, though, so my mat doesn't get dirty. So we're going to start off with some black paint. And I'm going to just leave that gold on there. It's fine. And normally when I do a finish like this, I would use a texture medium, but we don't have time for all that. So I'm just dabbing it on. And my clay-based paint, I mean, not clay-based, my chalk style paint is a little thick. So when I'm painting, I always like to look at my project from different angles because you think you have full coverage and then you like flip it around and no, there's like a whole piece that has no paint on it. And then I know that as this dries, that it'll shrink and there'll maybe some additional pieces that show up. When I cut this to make a circle, what I did was I overlapped this and then I cut on a diagonal and then I put it together. So that way that line is less noticeable. But this has a lot of texture. It's like a stick. So it's fine. I don't think it'll be super obvious. Hopefully it won't be. And then when I put it in the dehydrator, I just dried it like this. So it would dry in a circle. And I probably could have made my circle a little smaller, but maybe I like kisses more than hugs, huh? So I have that color on there. I'm going to dry this really quickly, and I'm going to dab on several colors to kind of make this look like a rusty patina. And then at the end, we'll go over with some black wax that'll really pull everything together. Interesting. So I had that gold on my brush. You guys see those little flecks in there? I thought that they would just get encased by the black and disappear, but they're actually in the paint. That is very interesting. That's something for me to remember for the future. Hmm. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm talking about. See, there's like, you guys know how that when you have a car that has like the flecks in it, so it's black, but it has gold flecks in it. Interesting. So I can add this pigment to my paint and it won't be an encased. I'll actually have like flecks. Y'all know my brain is like churning right now with ideas on what I can do with this newly found information. This is a rust colored paint. So I'm going to incorporate some of that in here. I probably should have stirred my paint, but it's okay. I'm using so little, it won't matter. I never did get my orange paint open, y'all. My poor cousin, she messaged me. She's like, I saw your live today. And so she told me what I could use on my hands because, oh, Arthur, as my grandmother used to say, oh, see, my hands are stronger today. So I was actually able to open it. I couldn't even begin to open it yesterday. So let me wipe this off. And I have some orange. And I don't need a ton, right? Just a little bit. Just a wee bit. And I'm pitiful because I have some clay-based paint, some chalk style paint, and now I'm going to put a little bit of acrylic paint on there too. But these are all the colors that I'm going to incorporate on this little piece to make it look like rust. I think a lot of times when I see people wanting to replicate like a patina or a rusty patina, they want to do it in like one go. And if you look at rust closely, it really is not just any one color. It's multiple colors. If you look at any patina, it's not just one color. It's a lot of different colors. And so and I'm going to dry that. Looks like a mess, doesn't it? Yours is actually seeing them in slices. I am pitiful. I have, so for those of you who took my paper mache course, you guys know that I have a food processor that I use to make, my paper mache clay. And then I have like my hand mixer and my electric knife, the kind that you use to cut bread, works really good on foam. Um, the dehydrator is the newest addition to my kitchen slash craft supplies. And of course, I have like my containers of like food cornstarch, and then I have my craft cornstarch because I need that. Y'all know how we are. We are going to use whatever by any means necessary, right? We're going to use whatever makes sense. It doesn't matter. And sometimes, you guys, things can be marketed different and they'll cost more in one market than they do in another. So if you go to the art section looking for a sea sponge, they want to charge you $20 for a little bitty sponge like this. But you can go over to the bath and body section and you can get a big old chunk of a sea sponge for the same price, just so you know. So I like to look in different areas for different things because they do cost different depending on how they're marketed. I think I'm a dry brush. I covered up all my stuff on that one. Let me pick some of that back up. And then we'll dry brush the black on this one so that I can have some of that other stuff peeking through. And usually, and we don't have time for me to be like super crazy the way I am normally, but I'll go back and forth with like my colors until I get what I want when I'm creating these patinas. I do think I need a little bit more brown. And this is a very intuitive process. You just, I don't know. You're adding and subtracting until you're happy. And I'm going to err on the side of I'm leaving a lot of red and orange peeking out there because I know that I'm going to go over this with black wax. And so that's going to dominate a lot of what I've done here. And I'm kind of pushing these colors into recessed areas. And then when I go over with the black, I'm going over the high points with the black. So these can be in the recesses and then the black over the top. So you still see both colors. Okay, I think that's good. So we have our rusty X and O, and then we have our gold trim. Let me, y'all want to see how pitiful I am? I'm gonna show y'all. Absolute ludicrousness. This is my bottle. I mean my brushes. I have to wash brushes today. Going live every day has its own challenges. Okay. Let me do a little cleaning up really quickly. I guess that's dry. I don't have to worry about that. So we're going to bring our block back. Oh, Lord, what did I do with the block? Oh. So if you are just popping on, you guys, we're making an art block today. And we started off using the recycled wallpaper, decoupage paper. And then this is from the Topography Love decoupage paper, the bottom. And we're adding our molds now to bring everything together. I'm not going to be that far over. See, this is why I think just a little bit of gold is going to be good. Like it's going to do its job, and that is not straight. I wonder if I can cheat and make it straight. Then the letters look crooked. Do I care? So that gold is just a little bit. It serves its purpose, but it doesn't compete with the X and the O on the top. So I'm going to let you guys vote. So should we go A with the really skinny gold border on the bottom? Or should we go B with a more pronounced border on the bottom? Because this still doesn't compete with that too much. Well, that's a good idea. Chris is saying that I could stack them and make it thicker, but my whole reasoning for making these is that I don't want them to be thicker. Like I don't want them to compete with this piece. And I really didn't trim them the better essences either. So it really needs to be one or the other. Faded Fence, Trisha says B. And you guys, if you're looking for Roycycle decoupage paper, you can find it at roycycled.com. Allison says B. I'm going to sand this a little bit. I didn't do the best job of trimming this. This is like a makeshift. It's like part of another trim piece. I was having a make it work moment. So it's not like exactly trimmed perfectly. I think our paint will help to disguise that though. I'm going to have to touch up the paint on this one. Eclectic Emporium says B. Laura says B. Flea says B. Okay, everybody says B. All right, so we'll go with B. Let me do another coat of gold over this because I do have some white peeking through. And I need to clean up my trim just a little bit. This is like the top part of a trim piece. And so it didn't clean. And this is an older mold too, so it doesn't have a lot of the fancy stuff that the newer molds have to make it easier to create them. Okay, so I'm gonna paint another, a little bit more gold on this. I'm just gonna mix up a tiny bit of paint and I might as well trim it before I paint it. And so this clay is dry on the outside, but the inside is still not. So I do have some flexibility. You know what I mean? And I only put it in the dehydrator for like 30 minutes. And it was kind of perfect. It dried the outside, but the inside still has moisture. So I can still play with it a little bit. What did I do with my pigments? I don't know how I lose stuff. Like I'm sitting right here in this chair. I haven't moved. And somehow I have managed to lose my pigment. Do you guys see it? Oh, Lord. Okay, let me like woosah for a second. I've learned that often when things are not going the way I anticipate or want them to go, that I can calm down and recenter. Because sometimes I'll be looking for something, it'll be right in front of me. Mira, it's right, literally right in front of me. That is hilarious. So I'm just putting a tiny, tiny bit because I do not need a lot. And I wish I had a tiny, well, I guess I can use this round brush. This will be fine. I'm going to mix it a little bit thick because I didn't put any red underneath here. I'm painting over white. So I'm mixing it a little bit thicker so that I can have really good coverage. The more pigment you have, the faster it dries. So this should dry really, really quickly. And I don't know if it's my clear coat or if it's the pigment, but I never have brush strokes. Like it always dries really flat. Let me hit that with my dryer before I touch it. We're almost done, you guys. Oh no, we got to do the fine line crackle. I knew I was going to go over for some reason. And this is dry. Like I feel like this is all dry. When you're using the fine line crackle, you really do want your surface to be dry. And I feel like we're pretty dry here. And that's going to dry really quickly. So we'll let that dry and we'll attach. And maybe I should have measured because you guys can see my line is, I don't know if my line isn't, I think my line is straight, but I think the paper isn't straight. Not that it matters because it's just going to look crookedy. But so I'm going to go ahead and attach my X and O with my glue. I do use Tight Bond Quick and Thick for my molds. I use it because it gets tacky right away and my molds aren't like slipping around all over the place. They're not slip sliding away. Slip sliding away. It gets tacked down really easily. So that's why I like to use this glue. But you can use whatever glue. You can use E6000 too. So that's my X. I guess the X and O makes it pretty Valentine's, doesn't it? I mean, but love could be good. Love is good all year round, not just on Valentine's Day. My poor husband. So we have Valentine's Day and my birthday coming up. And he's like, what do you want? I want art supplies. That is what I want. Is that, oh yeah, that's lined up pretty good. I maybe should have put in the top third, huh? It's too late now. It's already there. It's a done deal. I wish it was a little bigger too. I think it's a little small. but maybe putting this on there will help. And so we're almost done, you guys. We're going to put the mold on there. When I'm putting my glue, I seldom put my glue all the way up to the edge because I know that when I put pressure on there, the glue is it's gonna ooze out, and I just rather not have glue oozing out on my edges. You know what I mean? And so I think I put my decoupage paper on crooked, but it's okay. I do wish these were bigger. A little bit bigger, right? I think that would have been more compelling, but let's add some crackle. So my first obsession when I started this was milk paint, which I still love, by the way. And now it is fine line crackle. So I think that for this one, I'm going to want a lot of crackle. So I'm going to go over, right now, everything is pretty matte. And I have no like scientific evidence to support what I'm going to tell you guys, but I do feel like you get more crackle if you start off with a glossier medium. And so I'm going to go in and add this. This is just a decoupage medium, but I don't have anything glossy, so I'm going to use this because you guys know I don't generally like glossy stuff. But I'm going to go in and add this glossy decoupage medium over the top with my weird brush because it's the only brush I have left. The only small brush I have left. The other ones are all big. And I'm literally just putting this down so my surface will be glossy. And we're going to dry this. And you guys know what? While I dry this, I'm going to show you guys a video, okay? And then we'll come back and we'll talk about the video after we're done. And I know that I have a few of you who already know what the video is going to be, and you guys came last year. It would be so awesome if you guys would share your experience with the people who are watching today. It's like 48 seconds, you guys, and I'll be right back. If you've been craving time just for you, time to create, to breathe, to reconnect with who you are, I want to personally invite you to the 2026 Recycled Besties Retreat. We're gathering in beautiful downtown Safford, Arizona for 3 days of creativity, connection, and rest. All your creative supplies are provided, breakfast and lunch are taken care of, and you'll even receive exclusive recycled retreat-only goodies. We are already over halfway full, so if your heart's been whispering maybe, this is your moment to say yes. Click the link to claim your seat. I would love to meet you here. And so the Recycle Retreat is scheduled for the last weekend in April. It is here in Safford, Arizona, in my hometown, where we can come and we can take care of you. If you guys would like more information, if you're on Facebook, you can push hashtag retreat and you'll actually get a message through Messenger with the link for you. Go check it out. And then for those of you who are on YouTube, I have way too many photos loaded in here. I do have a QR code with the retreat information. You guys, the retreat includes, so Thursday night we meet for our meet and greet. Thursday evening at 6 o'clock. I figure everyone's coming in. It's in the bar at the motel, the event motel. So you come in, drop your bags, come downstairs. You get 2 free drink tickets, and we'll have finger foods there for you. But it's a chance for you to kind of meet everybody, make connections with people. Like some of you guys like chat in my comments all the time. And I know a lot of the ladies are super excited to meet each other in person because they've only ever talked to each other online, or you get to meet other creatives that you see online creating all the time. And so the meet and greet is really just about becoming familiar with each other, making connections. We do a game, so you can walk around and meet different people. I didn't want everybody to just come and stay, in their existing cliques. I really wanted people to make new connections because community to me is the best part of what we do. Um, and then you come Friday morning, we have breakfast there. And I mean, so I have a Cottage Bakery is a local artisan bakery. And she makes stuff every morning. She's like baking from like 2 a.m. till they open at like 6. I don't know, midnight. She's baking all night. Last year, she made us a little mini quiche and scones and some other things. And then, of course, we have cheese and yogurt and fruit there as well. And then we have lunch. And all of my meals are from local restaurants who prepare fresh food. So you won't, I mean, this isn't like, I don't know. I'm not going to bring you pastries from Safeway for breakfast. You guys get really good food. All of your art supplies are included, all of the instructions included. Your swag bags are, I think they're fabulous. I make a stencil just for the retreat. I create a paper just for the retreat. This year, we'll be launching a new product, and you guys will have that in your bags as well. You also have a set of paintbrushes that you'll use throughout the course of the weekend, but you'll wash them and you'll take them home. So my desire is that you leave not with just with the inspiration, but you leave with tools so that you can continue creating once you leave the space. And so we did gel plates last year, and there was a lot of paper that everyone left with. And we made a lot of craft supplies, and the ladies all left with the things that they made if they wanted. And everybody, and I don't mean like sometimes you go to a retreat and maybe there's like one gel plate and you're like sharing it with 5 people. Like everybody had their own gel plate last year. So it really is like my goal is to inspire you guys to create, to bring like minded people together, to connect, and to just help you build confidence in your ability so that you can create more freely. And we do a lot of experiments. Like my logo is literally me as a mad scientist for the retreat. Because we do a lot of experiments. We're not just sitting down talking. You guys are moving around the room, you're doing experiments. And then on the second day, you're kind of taking all the things that you experimented with and learned on the first day, and you're creating a piece of art that you'll be really proud of, that you get to take home. And I'm very mindful of the fact that people are flying. So you're not going to leave with a bunch of stuff and have to figure out where it is, or what to do with it. It really is about creating something that you love and that you'll be proud of. Like last year, Sonnet from Sonnet's Garden Bloom, she took her art piece home and she was so proud of it that it's actually the artwork on her new prescription box, right? So I really do think that when you leave with something that you're truly proud of making. And you also leave with hopefully a new set of tools. And even if the products that we're using you used before, I'm probably going to have you use it like off label. Y'all know I like to break the rules. So if you're interested, I really encourage you to come. We do still have seats available, and I would love, love, love to have you here. So I'm putting down part 1, and I'm using a small brush. You guys will see I'm making like these really small like hatch marks on my piece. Um, in my holy imagination, this is going to get me like small cracklier type of crackle. I think when you do like a long brush stroke, that the crackle follows along the thicker parts of that brush stroke, and that's how you get like And I don't care for those. If you don't mind, then that's fine. But I really want mine to be like the little kind of square kind of crackle. And so I always lay it down in like little quick, short um, brush strokes. And for this, it's really shiny. And I don't care if I don't get crackle everywhere, but I don't want to leave a dry spot because then I'll have a portion of my project that'll be matte and the rest will be really shiny. So um, oh, I had a plastic bag yesterday and I forgot to bring a sandwich bag with me today. I do, and make sure that your brush is dry and clean. You don't want to take a brush out of your jar and dry it off. You really want your brush to be dry and you want it to be clean before you apply your crackle. And so that's our first coat and we're going to dry it. I am going to show you guys another really short clip and because you guys hear me talking about the retreat, and that's fine, but I want you guys to hear from a couple of the people who came last year about their experience at the retreat.
One thing I would say is I would encourage anyone to come and do this. I have been very, very sick for a long time here, and I quit my job, and this was just something I did for me. And I'm ready to come back next year. I think everybody needs to take time out for themselves and do this. And there's all these people that you connect with, just from all over the country, and everybody has their own story and their own abilities and all that. And it was just a great time to be with everyone.
And so as women, we do so much and we love it, right? We do it for our family and our community because we love them. But it is good to carve out time just for you. And coming to a retreat like this can be something that you can do just for you. And so I encourage you guys to come. And I'm going to dry this part 1 before I put on part 2. And you can tell when it's dry because it's clear. So if you look at any parts and it still looks kind of milky, that means it's not quite dry yet. And I don't want to get my dryer too close or stay in one place too long because I don't want to get bubbles. So I just keep my dryer moving because this puppy gets hot. It's actually because it is an embossing dryer or embossing tool. So it gets really warm. And I do want to make sure that this is really dry before I go over it with step 2. If you guys have any comments about the retreat or any questions, I would love to answer them for you. Oh, hey, Melissa. I didn't see you pop in. Let's see. Somebody, I can't go up. Somebody says they always use black under their gold. You know, it's funny. I just remember reading an article years ago um, from someone who did like they were doing a project and it was copying a Pottery Barn finish, and there was a lengthy conversation about how even when they did like back in the day the gold leaf and stuff, they would use red because it would make the gold look richer. And ever since then, I just always paint red under my gold. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's one of those things that you learn and I pick up and then I just I do it. So we have our first layer and you guys see that it's completely dry. So now we're going to put on our second coat. I do always like to stir mine and make sure that all of the different elements are integrated really well. Make sure I don't have anything chipping off of. Look, this stick right here that I use to stir you guys is a poor brush that died because it probably sat in a jar of water too long or too many times. So I'm just going to stir that really well. You can shake it, but when you shake it, you can get bubbles, which isn't optimum. So I like to stir it better. And I don't mind want to waste anything. So I'm going to put that right there on my piece. Okay. So I'm going to go in with my brush and do the same thing. Quick little hatch marks. And the thicker you put it on, the larger your cracks are. So the thinner you put it on, you know, the your cracks are not going to just be smaller, but they're actually not going to be as deep either. So if you want like really deep, big cracks, then you'll want to use more product than less. But if you want them to be really fine, then you can use a little less product. Whoops. And you guys, my brush is not like I have enough on here that my brush never drags across the surface. You know how when you're putting on a product and when it's almost gone from your brush starts to like have like a drag feeling or resistance across the surface. At no time when I'm applying am I getting that feeling. And if I start feeling like I'm having resistance, then I'm gonna pick up some more product and put it on there. And for me, I like to put some spots are thicker than others. Some spots are thinner. It just depends. I just like having that kind of variation because if we're emulating something that's antique, it's not going to be super uniform, right? And now I'm going over just to make sure I've covered the whole thing. um, because this does dry really shiny. And so I don't want to have any spots that are like obviously matte. Okay. And so I'm going to dry this and let's see if we get some crack-a-lackin'. Yeah, a lot of times when if you the gold chips off of those antique frames, you can see the red underneath there too. I understand, Cindy. I get it. Who is calling me? They know I'm live. Y'all tell my family to leave me alone. Leave me alone. The time goes by so fast because we're busy creating. Did somebody think that was a long time to be creating? Honestly, I had people who still wanted to create some more by the time we were done. Because after Saturday, we have half a day on Sunday, and then I think we have Saturday evening scheduled to do a trip to the warehouse, where you guys can do some shopping, including papers that have been out of circulation for a really long time. So I'm going to be better set up this year for the warehouse. We'll have all of the retired designs in one section, and then last year I think everyone's favorite part was shopping my whatnot hoard in my little kitchenette area. All of my vintage pieces that I picked throughout the year. I could not believe that those ladies brought those big old huge wooden boxes. I bought those from someone in Ohio. I love them, but I bought too many. And they were back there, and a couple of ladies bought them and they put them in their suitcases. I guess they just put the box in first and then put everything else around it. I was laughing. I just figured just the small stuff would sell. And I do believe the heat from my dryer also helps with the crackle too. Because what's happening, you guys, when we use these crackle mediums is the reason why a lot of times it's two different layers is because the two layers are drying at different rates. And that's what causes the cracking is the tension that's created when those two layers are drying at different rates. And that's why I believe the gloss medium helps because a slicker surface is easier for it to move on as opposed to a more matte surface. But I have no scientific evidence to support my, thing. I should have moved these up. That's gonna bother me. They should have been like up about an inch higher. And I'm already getting crack a lacking, and I'm not even dry yet. And I got crackle a lot faster today than I did yesterday. And yesterday I did not do the step where I put down the gloss medium first. I really want to move those up. It's bothering me. I should have spent some more time dry fitting those before I glue them. I'm hoping you guys are enjoying today's quick craft, although it's not very quick. But I just figured a lot of you guys are probably hunkered down, so we might as well hang out, right? Karen's asking me if last year was my first retreat. Last year was my first general retreat. I've done a retreat for my retailers before. That was a lot smaller. This one, we are like we're maxing out at 55 seats. Last year, I had 60 seats, I think. Like as the most amount of seats we would sell. But after the event last year, I just like we had 53 last year. And so we took it down to 55 because I like that number. Like 55 is enough for you guys to experience a real community at the event. But for me to still be able to really connect with every person who comes in a real way and not have people feel like they're just kind of lost at the event. And I used to do so. This is my first like general event for Royce Cycled, but I used to be the director of a nonprofit, and we did a lot of events. And so, even though this was my first time organizing and putting on an event for Royce Cycled, not my first like one of this size, it wasn't my first time like doing an event. So we always take I always say that I feel like everything that I did up until this point in my life prepared me for this point in my life. You know what I mean? You learn things, and just because you do something different, you don't just leave them, you bring it with you. So, like, for my retailers program, and if you're a creative business and you're looking for a product to carry, you may consider recycled. We have paper and stencils. We do offer territory protection. Retailers get free access to training. So you guys see me offer classes for decoupage, for stencils. Those are free for retailers so they can be equipped to be able to educate their customers. Um, our buy-in is pretty low. And honestly, just to maintain your status as an active retailer just requires a minimum purchase once a quarter. So it's not like I don't feel like it's a super arduous product to be able to keep. But one of the things that I know about the way that I operate with my retailers, a lot of that comes from my experience in the nonprofit sector. So we have quarterly business trainings where I have business coaches come in and they teach different things. This quarter, I'll be teaching this quarter and we'll be talking about using ChatGPT to kind of increase our creativity and how we can do that effectively in a way that's not gonna. Sometimes when you get a new tool, you end up spending more time. You know what I'm saying? Your time goes to the tool instead of to the result. And so I have like 10 ways to use ChatGPT today, right? That's going to increase your productivity. So that'll be our training for this quarter. But generally, we have guests come in and teach different things every quarter. And I think that kind of that continued education, um, the touch that I do with my retailers, all that comes from my experience in the nonprofit sector. So it's just interesting. We move, but we just take the things with us and we bring them with. Because even in my art, it's funny. You guys, you go over into the classical art world, and they're doing a lot of the same stuff we do. One of the program that I'm in, they're like real for today was how to use gold leaf. They use stencils, they use gold leaf. They're calling it collage, but they're decoupaging. Now collages as a noun is something different, but like a verbal like collaging and decoupaging is essentially the same thing. You're adhering paper to a substrate, right? And so even my crafting, I'm taking into my kind of classical art creations. So I've dried this, and I'm not even gonna try. There is so much crackle. so yummy. And you guys can't see it yet, but I'm going to show you right now. We're going to do the magic part. And my favorite part, we're going to add some dark wax over this. And you guys are going to be able to see all the luscious crackle. I do want to take a minute to do some self promotion. Yesterday, I went and talked to my printer earlier this week, and they a lot of times when I show my art, you guys ask about prints. And so I do have prints available for my Universal Beauties. This one is the 8 by 10. And I have both available in 8 by 10. So they're available in 8 by 10. And I also have some 4 by 6s. And the image is 4 by 6. And then you have the white area around it. And then I also have some 11 by 14s, which David didn't bring those out. But let me know if you guys are interested in the prints. And the 4 by these small ones are only $10. I wanted to do different sizes so I can offer different price points. And if you guys are interested in them, just hit me up and let me know. And I will invoice you. I thought about putting it on my website. I don't know. I'm like growing two different brands at the same time. And so I'm not sure like how to do things. Like, should I just put it on my Royce Cycle website? Or do I need a new website for my art? I don't know. So if you're interested, message me and then I'll just send you an invoice. And that's kind of where I am now with that part of what I do. So I'm going to take my dark wax, and my piece is really warm. You see how that dark wax is just melting on there? I probably should have waited a few more minutes, but it is okay. Look, you guys, I didn't even get to eat my breakfast. My peanut butter toast is cold now. And this is a towel, and you guys can see I keep using this. Safety tip, if you're using a rag with your wax, make sure you lay your rag out flat or you hang it out flat so that it can off gas safely. You don't want to have the solvent that's in your wax build up because it can combust, like, you know, and we don't want that. You guys see that crackle? Can you see it? Oh, this camera drives me a little crazy sometimes. You guys see? Oh, you guys can see that. Look at how yummy that is. And they're super small. I did use it a little thinner on the bottom because I wanted to have kind of small, I call them cells, the little squares. I wanted them to be a little small. And then up here at the top, I was hoping I'd get them to be a little bit larger. And I'm going to put this wax over everything except for the gold. Even my little X and O here. And you guys, making these blocks is a super fun way to experiment. And then when you're done, you have something you can put on your wall. So these could go really beautifully on like a gallery wall, and you could integrate them to kind of celebrate Valentine's Day in February. And I don't know if you guys know or if you've seen like the Sid Dickens art blocks, but that's my inspiration for these. It kind of comes from that. But I think a lot of us make these, but we're all inspired by the blocks that Sid Dickens makes. His are all ceramic though, and people collect them. He's out of the UK. They're beautiful. I'm going in because some of my letter looked a little ashy, so that lets me know that I didn't get any wax on there. So I'm gonna go in there and put a little wax. And so you see that crackle? Oh, whenever I put the wax on and the crackle comes out, you know what I hear in my head? Oh, that's what I hear in my head. So that is today's block. I hope you guys enjoyed today's project. We did some experimenting, and I think for the most part, it worked out, right? So we have our X and O. I will tell you that I wish I had moved these up a little bit. I would have liked for them to be straddling the first and second like quadrants of this piece instead of being right in the middle. I'm not happy with that part, but I'm gonna let it go. And so these are the blocks that we created. And if I were displaying them, I would probably display them. I don't know. You could display them however you want. But these are the three. Let me move it over some because my face is in the way. These are the three art blocks that we've made together. Did I move it more in the way? I did, didn't I? Okay, we'll do like this. There we go. The three art blocks that we've made together. I think they came out really pretty. And you guys can see how there are things that kind of, each one has like the same tone of red in each one. I probably should have put something rusty over here, but it's okay. I feel like you need to have one block that's kind of like chill if you have two that are loud. They all have crackle. They all have gold around the trim. We do have the same tones of red in each one, and so they feel like they go together, even though they don't like match. But they do feel like they belong together. So that is our project for today's quick craft with Royce. That was not very quick at all. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you sharing your time. My grandmother would always say, you can make more money, but you cannot make more time. And so when people share their time with me, I really, really do appreciate it. We have experimented in the last 3 days while making these, and some of our experiments worked. And I think we had a couple that didn't, but that's where the growth happens. And so, you guys, where experimentation goes, creativity follows. So I would like to encourage you to experiment with your products, with your processes, make time to play. You never know what's going to come of it, but it is how we grow creatively. Thank you so much. You guys have a blessed day, and I will be here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll be doing a brand new craft. I don't know what it is yet, but we'll figure it out. But hopefully you'll be here to join me. You guys have a nice evening and stay safe in these freezing weathers. Thank you.